When devastating floods swept California last month, the community of Grayson survived without major damage. It's a town of 1,300 people tucked between almond orchards and dairy farms where the San Joaquin and Tuolumne rivers converge. And that's thanks to the 2,000 acres of former farmland across the river that have been largely restored to a natural floodplain. Advocates for floodplain restoration say it can help solve California's dual dangers of flooding and drought. It can replenish groundwater for future drought relief while protecting towns from the catastrophic flooding.
So they simultaneously deliver flood safety by reducing water surface elevations when the floods come through. We have more space for the water to spread out, and we've modified some of the components of the flood system here so that the water surface elevations are lower for neighborhoods like Grayson or even for our neighbors downstream in Stockton.
Rentner said the $50 million project was funded mostly by federal, state, and local grants. Last month was the first major test as the landscape was reshaped by degrading levees and creating swales. About 40 volunteers exchanged invasive plant species for native ones. One of the volunteers was David Guzman, who works in an almond processing plant and lives right up against the slough of the San Joaquin River.
It means a whole lot to me because it doesn't flood out no more like it used to. You know, with these floodplains that they got back here, that they made, all the water goes down there now, and it's not coming up to the town no more. It stays level to the top of this levee here, almost.
Just last year, Guzman and his neighbors had to evacuate as wildfire tore through the dried-out slough.
Well, it was a community effort. We went out there and planted. It must have been 40 or 50 of us, and we went out there and planted a good-sized area out there with natural grasses and bushes and what have you out there. And it was people were laughing, having a good time, and feeling like, you know, they were being a part of something new out here.
The challenges posed by the extremes reminded Rentner that when managing drought, the state must not forget about floods either.
You know, as of the end of 2022, everybody was in drought relief mindset, right? We've got a crisis where wells, hundreds and thousands of wells have gone dry. People are without drinking water. Farms are without water to keep their businesses up and running. It's very disruptive. And, you know, the state is continues to take amazing steps towards trying to rectify that problem and respond to that emergency. But then what the storms of January showed us is that the state also has this backlog of flood safety issues that only come up as a priority once the disaster has already happened.
In Stockton, one group has identified a spot that would make for a perfect floodplain restoration project.
There are 17,000 homes behind us that were redlined into floodplain housing 40, 50, 60 years ago. This levee is inadequate. And levees alone aren't going to do the trick. We want to invest in levees throughout the system, but if for major arc storms, we have to have floodplains where we can have water spillover so that we take the pressure off levees and save people's lives.
It is impossible to determine for certain that the floodplain saved Grayson, but experts say floodplain restoration can help spare adjacent towns, and they envision a day when a proliferation of projects will prevent wider flooding throughout the state.